So I want to show you the EMF levels of our infrared sauna pod. When we talk about EMFs, it's very important to understand that there are two things specifically in infrared saunas that can create EMFs. So EMFs basically means electromagnetic fields, frequencies, and inside of EMFs we have electric fields and magnetic fields. We can separate both because both are created differently. When we talk about electric fields, that can happen from voltage, okay? You can have an appliance that's turned off, but as long as inside the cable there is voltage, you can have electric fields that goes up to 3 meters. When we talk about magnetic fields, that can happen when you turn the appliance on, in this case, this panel with the incandescent bulbs, infrared bulbs. When you turn it on, you have current flowing, and that can create magnetic fields. And now, having magnetic fields or not having, that depends on the kind of wiring that you use and also the source of the appliance. In this case, the infrared incandescent bulbs, they don't have that specific magnetic field. But if we don't do the wiring inside of the panel well, you can have a huge magnetic field. So it's important to understand that we can distinguish between these two kinds of fields, magnetic and electric fields. Both are created differently and both can be mitigated differently. In this case, we completely shielded the panel against electric fields and also use wiring that doesn't have magnetic fields. So the way I'm going to measure this is by using a milligauss meter for magnetic fields, and then I'm using the basic tri-field TF2 meter for electric fields, which can also measure magnetic fields, but this one is more, it can measure it more in detail. And then I'm going to use a multimeter to measure my body voltage, because electric fields, they can go up to 3 meters, and because our body is made out of water primarily, we can absorb this electric field, and it can be measured by measuring your body voltage with a multimeter. That has to be connected to ground, and then we just hold this part. Now this is a more specific multimeter which can go more in detail, but that's basically it. So we are going to measure magnetic fields, electric fields in the air, and also our body voltage. I'm going to do 2 tests in each meter, one without this turned on, and then I'm going to do the same test with this turned on. And I'm always staying around 50 centimeters away from the panel, from the incandescent bulbs, because that's in reality what we are gonna, how we are gonna use, do our sauna sessions inside of our infrared sauna pod. So let's begin with the magnetic field. So what we have here is now 0.1, around that, 0.1 milligauss. Now let's see, I'm going to turn the sauna pod on. So we have 2 switches, one just for one bulb and the other switch for the 4. So we are still 0.07, 0.1, around that. So there is absolutely no magnetic field coming from the panel. So we are safe and good in that respect. Now I'm gonna switch this off again. And now let's try the electric field. So we have 0 voltmeter here, okay? So I'm not near any kind of appliance here in this room. Now I'm gonna turn this on, and we are still at 0. Even near the cable. Now, let's try the body voltage. To measure body voltage, you put the black one to the ground, so you connect it to earth connection on your outlet, and you choose between DC and AC, you choose AC, alternate current. And now, right where I am, I'm measuring 9 millivolts. Okay, let's see what happens if I turn the panel on. So it's even a bit lower, 6 millivolts. So there is no electric field and no magnetic field coming out of this panel. And this is why I feel so passionate about the work that we do, because at the end, most people use sauna either to heal from any kind of chronic condition or just to feel better. And for me, it doesn't make sense to have non-native electromagnetic fields coming out of any kind of technology when you use this technology to get either healthier or to regain your health back, which was my case. I was born with a specific condition, a heart disease called aortic stenosis. I had 2 open heart surgeries and a lot of other procedures in my life. And it was really a big struggle to feel good in any part of my life. And for the past 3, 4, 5 years, I've been slowly introducing all kinds of natural therapies and biohacks that helped me to get better. And I healed from so many things, and I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And this thing, infrared sauna, was a big part of my recovery. So I feel really passionate about having a simple technology that can be affordable, that's practical, easy to use, easy to understand, and that makes you sweat very fast. Because in this case, for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum, it really depends also on every individual, but at least at 10 minutes around that, you are having a big sweat, and you don't need to turn this thing on before you go in. You just turn it on, you close the tent, the pot, and it gets warm instantly, because this is creating kind of a heat in the air, but also it has radiant heat. So when you stand in front of it, you get very, very hot, but it doesn't feel like suffocating like in traditional saunas. And that is also one of the things that people love infrared saunas, which is my case too. I prefer using infrared saunas than traditional saunas. Of course, traditional saunas, they have a lot of benefits too, but for some people it's a bit more difficult to use, specifically for people that have adrenal issues, which was my case, and that have like low blood pressure, or who have difficulty of breathing and just not feeling very comfortable. And in this thing you can feel very comfortable, and it makes you sweat, which is the whole purpose, is just to get a good sweat, to remove toxins, and also to absorb this infrared light. Now, I'm also just show a quick test. Now, for this test, it will not be 100% accurate because I have the sauna pod up, so open, and there is some blue light coming out of from the window, from the outside. So it will pick some of that. But this meter, I can measure the invisible light spectrum that we have, and also the visible one, of course. And what we have here is just red visible light, near infrared, and also far infrared. Now, this doesn't pick up the far infrared, but it's easy to understand that far infrared is just energy emitted as heat, and this is very hot, so there is a lot of far infrared energy here. Now, the near infrared, which is invisible and has a lot of benefits specifically for our mitochondria, that can be measured by this meter. And also the red visible light, which also, of course, you can see it, that's visible, and that has a lot of benefit for the collagen production in your skin, for skin regeneration, also for scar tissue. I have some scar. I have a big scar here in my chest because of the open heart surgeries that I had, and that gets just better and better the more I use the infrared sauna pod. So when I turn this on, I'm just pointing, so this is where it picks up the light source. Now, we don't have any reading right now, and I'm gonna just take a snapshot of what it picks. So we have, on this reading, you can see it from the around 600 nanometers, which is where red light begins, around that. And it goes up to 1050 nanometers, which is near infrared. So we have the visible red and also a lot of near infrared coming. And now the far infrared is just basically heat energy. So that's why we can call this a full spectrum infrared therapy at the same time that we are doing sauna.